I hope everyone had a great Halloween weekend. I wanted to provide some comments on the discussion board for Module 3 and highlight some of the insightful posts that were made. I want to commend you all for your meaningful comments. I think the discussion board posts have been generate a lot of great discussion, and salary bands have turned out to be quite controversial. I think most of you have strong opinions on whether or not they're appropriate. Some of you have commented that they're not appropriate because it doesn't allow an individual to be rewarded for their work. Others of you felt that salary bands were a way to make sure everyone is rewarded fairly and there's an objective standard. I do want to highlight a couple of posts that I think everyone in this class should read. One is by Megan Elam. She applied for a job at Cincinnati Children's Hospital here in Cincinnati, and she, at the time, did not negotiate for her position. She said that she felt that if she negotiated, she wasn't in the right position because there were hundreds of other qualified applicants, and that she might not be looked favorably upon if she had negotiated for that position or negotiated for more salary. Certainly very understandable, and several other you commented on that you weren't in a position to negotiate. But then following her post, there was one by Gene Schultz who made, I think, a very insightful comment that managers actually might look favorably upon someone who negotiates. And so one way to think about this is if you take the time to do the research and understand why you should be paid what you're asking, then you're more likely to take that same attitude and approach with your firm. And so when you negotiate with vendors or when you go out and try to make sales, if you're also thoughtful, take the time to do research and make sure that your firm is awarded appropriately, I think that kind of attitude is going to be reflected in somebody who takes the time to thoughtfully negotiate. The key thing here is, obviously be respectful and thoughtfully negotiate, and make sure you justify why you're making the request that you are. But again, I thought that was a very good post by Gene to say that managers might actually look favorably upon you. And indeed, I think that's the case. I hire about 5 graduate assistants every year. And in the last year, I've also hired a director of business development here at UC, as well as a research associate. And I did look favorably upon the research associate who put together a counteroffer and explained this is why I think I should get paid this salary. And the best, evidence of this is a counteroffer. So if you have an offer from another firm that justifies your salary, I think as a manager, that's very encouraging because I know that the market has also valued you at an appropriate level. And then after Gene's post, Caitlin Schoninger, I hope I pronounced that correctly, posted a great article about the differences in gender in negotiation and how women are much less likely to negotiate for salary than men. And she posted an article that I would encourage everyone to read. And in fact, a lot of studies have documented that women are much less likely to negotiate than men in salaries, but also for cars. If you look at the average price that women tend to pay compared to men when they shop for a new car, I think I saw a recent study where women end up paying about $1,000 more than a man for the same car. And so there was a great article discussing about the disparity in negotiation between men and women and how women might be able to address that. So again, I think thank you to Megan, Gene, and Caitlin for a really great discussion board thread there. So I highly encourage you to read that. The other one to highlight was by Ryan Strand, and he was an actor, and he talked about how when he negotiated for his position that he went through an intermediary. That there was actually an agent who negotiated his position with this particular theater or show. And again, I think a really great discussion because he, in a sense, outsourced his negotiation. So in the last discussion board, we talked about what activities, what functions might you want to outsource. And because of the nature of this industry, a lot of these salary negotiations are done by this external agency. And that's just a great example of the power of markets and how they can create efficiencies, because not every individual actor knows what they should be paid. But if you're going through an intermediary, an agency, they understand what a person with that qualification, that amount of experience, based on all of their other work, they, in a sense, have a database that they can call on and provide information to that actor who's getting a job. Now, of course, they're charging you either directly or indirectly. So there is a cost associated with this negotiation, but nevertheless, I think the benefits in most cases probably outweigh the costs. So that was a great comment. He also mentioned that he negotiated things other than salary. So one thing to consider is that while for a lot of places it is true that entry-level positions might not be able to negotiate. And I know that there are several people in this class who are either co-op students or might be getting ready to go on the job market, and they indicated that there's not really any room to negotiate their salary. And that might be true from an HR perspective in that they fix the rate for this particular level of experience. But there's always room to negotiate on other variables. So I remember when I first started and I graduated and I started at Nielsen Market Research, and I was also one of 8 other people in the class. And so there was a lot of us that started at the same time, same level of experience, same education. And so the salary was pretty much fixed. But I was able to negotiate a one-time bonus, a financial bonus, and then also negotiate some paid time off for my honeymoon at the time. So it's a lot easier to negotiate for things outside of pay, and it can create, still a very good package for you, even though you might not get the higher salary. So a few other comments. One of the reasons why a company may elect to use salary bands is really to maintain consistency among different departments and different hiring managers. And so there may be imperfect information or imperfect motives across managers. So the idea of implementing salary bands may be to constrain these individual managers and make sure that somebody who has imperfect information or imperfect motive can't hurt the firm too often. Several of you also made the comment that it's very difficult for an employer to know in advance what a new hire will produce. So in theory, the idea of paying someone the marginal revenue product of their labor is great in theory, but that assumes you know how productive that individual worker is going to be. And so it's very difficult to determine how much a worker is going to be worth to a firm just by looking at the resume or even calling the references. And so salary bands provide some guidance, again, to say a person with this type of responsibilities and this amount of experience and qualifications should be expected to produce about this amount of value for the firm. So I think those were some of the more important comments that I wanted to highlight. Again, I think some really great discussion posts. I encourage you to read the one by Megan and then Ryan. And also, I posted an article about efficiency wages to the post with Megan. So she had made a comment that, HMC or Cincinnati Children's had offered her a very fair wage, more than she otherwise would have expected. And one of the reasons that firms might do this is to discourage turnover. So in a firm, turnover is very costly. It takes an incredible amount of time to replace a worker in terms of hiring costs, training costs, and lost time for that worker being gone. And so if a firm actually offers slightly higher wages, which Cincinnati Children's appears to have done, one of the reasons they might do that is to discourage turnover. Because if you leave that job at Children's, you're going to take a step back in your wage. And so as a result, Children's is able to reduce those turnover costs, and you're also able to get a slightly higher salary. And so there is a reason why a firm might offer a slightly higher wage than the market otherwise might indicate. So I posted that article on efficiency wages in the post by Megan Elam. So take a look at that if you can. All right, so the exam is this week. I know there's a lot going on this week. There's the homework you need to do. There's still another discussion board post. You'll need to log in and do the experiment either today, tomorrow, or Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. If you have any questions, again, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a phone call. Happy to do a video conference. I know I've been in touch with several of you about different issues, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need any assistance. All right, thanks, and I hope you all have a great day.